freedomtalkradio.co.uk. This is the most diverse, most amazing, one of the funniest radio stations you could ever listen to on the internet. I've heard so much stuff from the ups, the downs, the lefts, the freedomtalkradio.co.uk. This is the most diverse, most amazing, one of the funniest radio stations you could ever listen to on the internet. I've heard so much stuff from the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights,
the politics, the non-politics, the schmolitics, whatever you want to call them.
It's great.
This message is transmitted at the request of the United States Office of Civil Defense.
Now, I know some people want me to bypass Congress and change the laws on my own. Believe me, the idea of doing things on my own is very tempting.
You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
Do you think it's unconstitutional for the president to take an existing law that he signed and say, we're not going to enforce part of that law?
Of course it's unconstitutional. The Constitution says the executive has to faithfully execute the laws, and here it is faithfully ignoring a law it doesn't like.
The only real effect I can have is to create the impression that things aren't as bad as they are, to give our people time, the opportunity to survive.
I guess I just never realized I'd gone so far. We've lost so much control.
Totalitarianism doesn't need armies. It only needs to control a couple of things: the media and the ability to dispense privilege to some and withhold it from others. Of course, a weak and divided people helps.
There is only one holistic system of systems. One vast and immane, interwoven, interacting, multivariate, multinational dominion of dollars. Petrodollars, electrodollars, multi-dollars, Reichmarks, rims, rubles, pounds, and shekels. It is the international system of currency which determines the totality of life on this planet.
Well, good evening, everybody. Bill Zam here. Welcome to an exciting episode of Surrounded by Idiots right here on the Freedom Talk Radio, Saline Entertainment Television Group network of stations. Presumably, if you're listening to me live right now, you are on the freedomtalkradio.net or freedomtalkradio.co.uk website, and you are listening to the stream either on the Bill Zam page or right from the front page of the website. I extend to you a most hearty greeting for the evening. Sorry if I seem a little bit out of sorts because, well, I am a little bit out of sorts. I kind of was a little bit distracted before I went on the air, as is perfectly normal when you have a series of senior moments throughout the day. Tonight, I want to talk to you about several things. I don't have a guest for tonight, so I am doing this a cappella or by myself. And judging by the response I got from last week's show, everybody loved it. So I'm going to do the same thing again this week. I'm not going to do the same show. I'm just going to say some things that are similar to it. The first thing is a typical example of taking something that's perfectly good and screwing it up to no end. And I'm talking about YouTube. You see, Google bought YouTube some time back and has been busily hacking up a perfectly good website. Sure, you can share videos still, but if you don't have the party line that is espoused, the politically correct party line, the progressive-leaning socialist buy into the government attitude, you can pretty much plan on, 3 views, 4 views, or something like that. Maybe, if there's word of mouth, you might get more views. But it's all about distractions now. It's all about distractions like The videos that are on YouTube that go viral, that have millions and millions of hits, they're pretty much pointless videos. Some Korean guy dancing around with music, some stupid cat jumping through a hoop or something. They're pointless. It's all distractions. Now, sometimes you can actually get away and get great results, but it doesn't matter. You still have to have somebody's party line, because organically, you're not going to find the videos that you want unless you're specifically searching for them. I don't care what the party line agenda is. I don't care about their party line. I really don't. I don't need YouTube. I find it perfectly pointless at this point in the internet game. The only reason these shows that I do and are done here on the SETV Freedom Talk Radio Network are on there at all is because Spreaker does it automatically for me. I don't have to lift a finger. I don't even have to go to YouTube anymore. They just put the videos on there. People watch them, great. If they don't, I don't care. Now, I add all of this to the current pro-gay propaganda that they have on there, and you have to ask yourself, all you're doing is getting these messages shoved down your throat constantly, and on the front page, nothing comes up that you actually want to watch. The site's usability has gone completely down the tubes, pardon the pun, and there are glitches galore. This past week, I wanted to watch a video about a particular subject that, Google and YouTube might not like. A little bit of a politically incorrect video. And I got the screen with static on it that said, unavailable due to a technical difficulty. I said, well, there's other videos similar that talk about the same thing. Went to one of those. Oh, this video is temporarily unavailable. I went to another one. This video is temporarily unavailable. But you go to the other ones, they come through just fine, as long as it's the message that they want to get out. And who the hell, let me ask you a question, who the hell would want to use that confusing claptrap they call Google+? I'm on Google+ sometimes, and it is, it's a joke. You get these constant nag screens before you can even get to Google+. And believe me, try it on a mobile device. Those nag screens on a mobile device, they're great because you got to scroll around all over the place and hit this little button that's smaller than the head of a pin if you want to try to get out of the stupid nag screens. And, they show you stuff like, hey, pick some friends. You want to link accounts with your friends? No, I don't want to link accounts with my friends. If I want to look for friends on Google+, I'll do it by myself. I don't need your stupid nag screen. And look, here's another nag screen. More people to choose from. Well, that's great. You want to add somebody to a circle? No, I want to go to Google+ so I can post something. What the hell is a circle anyways? And how? And now people can add you to circles without your permission. Did you know that? They can add you to their circle, and you can add them to their circle without anybody's permission. What's up with that? Why are they allowing that kind of stuff? And then after that, it spews you out onto a page that's confusing at best. There's stuff willy-nilly all over the place. It makes absolutely no sense. Google Plus does. I'm sorry I ever even went on there or linked any of my accounts to that. And the highest subscribed users on YouTube today are the ones that had contracts that were assigned to them immediately upon Google's acquisition of YouTube. And to this day, that's how all the new and huge channels have gotten their subscribers, not through hard work and quality, but by spewing party lines. YouTube has become as fake as TV, and the brainwashing that they do is just as dangerous. And I'll add to that the current video that's on there, the Eyes video that's on YouTube. And if you've watched it, you see that it seems to be trying to convince you, the viewer, that your eyes can no longer be trusted. Not only are you too stupid to make your own decisions, now you can't even trust your own eyes and have to let a machine do it for you, see it for you. When you start watching videos like "No, you don't have a sixth sense," the one that uses one single study to completely smear all psychic ability once and for all, and by psychic ability I mean not not just reading somebody's thoughts or being able to guess the cards that somebody is holding up, but knowing that one of your family members just died. Suddenly feeling that shudder that people get when one of their family members dies. Or you can also include into that religious experiences. Say you're sitting in church and you're in a church service, and all of a sudden you're hit by the Holy Spirit. That's a form of a psychic experience. It's laughable. They used one study to smear psychic ability, quote unquote, once and for all. It's laughable, but the programmed masses will watch the videos and repeat it like it's some kind of a mantra. It's brainwashing is all it is. And that eyes video goes, I can't trust my brain, I can't trust my eyes, I must let the machine think for me. It knows what is best. I can't trust my brain, I can't trust my eyes, I must let the machine think for me. It knows what's best. And that just keeps repeating on endlessly. This is all another nail in the coffin of self-reliance. When you think about this, it's pretty obvious. Yes, you can still put a video on YouTube, and yes, there's a pretty good chance that if you speak out against anything the politically correct machine doesn't like, you'll get dinged with a copyright violation. I've had copyright violations put on my shows with just my guest and myself talking. No audio clips, no video clips, no nothing. So apparently now, according to YouTube, my voice is now copyrighted by somebody else. In order to submit to authority, you must believe that that authority is justified, and in order to get any views or visibility on YouTube, you must submit to their authority. Things like morality is relative. There is no greater understanding that you can achieve on your own. Humans are flawed experiments, and here's my favorite, transhumanism will help you conquer death. After all, you've relinquished the sovereignty of your soul. And many other mind tricks. These death worshippers are not going to go away. They just use different words and turns of phrase the next time they come around. And like I said last week about face crap, you can post any godless, conservative, smearing, pro-gay, pro-government piece of junk you want to, but if you give glory to God, it's a goddamn national emergency, and they need to get rid of you once and for all. That's the way it works right now. But let's pause for this brief message while I attempt to calm down.
freedomtalkradio.co.uk. This is the most diverse, most amazing, one of the funniest radio stations you could ever listen to on the internet. I've heard so much stuff from the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights,
the politics, the non-politics, the schmolitics, whatever you want to call them.
It's great.
And I am back. I am sure that young lady that did that promo is probably thinking twice about it now after listening to this show. Last week, I talked about something that is very important to me, and it should be important to more people, but people just don't pay any attention. They are the mindless masses being brainwashed by claptrap. I am the lone voice. And I am going to speak out once more. Let's review what I talked about last week. I keep having to say this, and I really shouldn't. It's like lecturing to children that just won't listen. And as everybody knows, these days, if you try to punish children that won't listen or follow directions, you get the cops called on you, and the kids get taken away from you. So you can't even parent kids anymore, so I don't even know why I'm talking about it. Anyways, names like Isaac Asimov, Gail Ann Hurd, and Glenn Larson. You don't even know who the hell those people are, do you? Unless you read a lot of books like I do. You got no idea. Maybe Isaac Asimov. You might know him. He wrote I, Robot. And Gail Ann Hurd, she was one of the co-creators of the Terminator movies. And Glenn Larson, of course, came up with, created, and produced, and I believe directed and wrote a lot of the episodes of Battlestar Galactica. These are all shows and movies about robots and books that humans make as smart as they are until the robots decide they don't like being slaves and humans aren't worth the effort to keep around anymore. What they all have in common is that they are warning us. They are warning us that we humans are stupid and rarely look farther ahead than the next meal. Perhaps it's in our genes. Perhaps it's so basic in our instincts that we cannot avoid taking the same path over and over again. Now, Isaac Asimov, he came up with the 3 rules of robotics to keep robots from doing harm to humans. But, however, tonight I have additional news about the robots that are coming. Let's look at some more cases of this issue getting out of hand. There are new internet communication systems for robots to share information and learn from each other, believe it or not. This comes from the Activist Post, activistpost.com, and Nicholas West wrote this. Some of us humans have become concerned about the neuroscience research project conducted under Obama's Brain Project. Was that like a hide-and-seek thing? As well as similar research sponsored by the European Union. In even greater amounts of money, it exceeds $1 billion combined. The Brain Project. Look it up. The goal is nothing short of decoding the human brain and discovering new ways to develop both narrative, that's like commercials and propaganda, and pharmaceutical mind control. That's what it's for. Running parallel to this initiative is the marriage of robotics with artificial intelligence. The evolution of the humanoid robot is advancing by baby steps, but it is coming of age quickly, so much so that many experts see humans completely outsourced robots by 2045 at the latest. Goody, 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 goody. One more step towards self-awareness for robots. What is it with us humans that drives us to self-destruction? Now, here's a feel-good story from the Daily Telegraph. A senior American officer has said he is considering shrinking the size of the Army's brigade combat teams by a quarter and replacing the lost troops with robots. So now you're asking yourself, Bill, how bad can this crap get? Wait, there's more. Again, from the Daily Telegraph just recently. You're going to love this one. Terminator-style self-assembling robots unveiled by scientists. Robotic cubes that can jump, flip, roll, and assemble themselves into different shapes have been revealed by scientists at MIT. As with any modular robot system, the hope is that the cubes can be miniaturized according to researchers. The ultimate aim is to create hordes of swarming microbots that can self-assemble like the liquid steel Terminator in Terminator 2. Well, maybe common sense will prevail, and they won't make killer robots at all. We'll just have a bunch of pissed-off, self-assembling, wiki-connected, truck-driving robots, because they are also creating a Wikipedia network for robots that only robots will be able to access so that they can learn from each other and learn what we don't know. But they're going to have a robot internet just for the robots, not for humans, for the robots. And of course, the Daily Telegraph is coming to our rescue once more to allay our fears, so that there is nothing to fear from this. Battlefield killer robots almost a reality, campaigners warn. Autonomous robots with the power to make decisions about killing human beings are under development. That's right. They are making freaking robots right now. They're developing them that can make their own decisions about killing human beings. And their use raises worrying questions about the morality and accountability in war. Human rights campaigners warn. Finally, something that I can agree with with the human rights coalitions that are out there. Yeah, the same. I'm only talking about the ones that want to give rights to animals and everything else. Lethal armed robots that could target and kill without any human intervention should never be built, said Steve Goose, Arms Division Director at Human Rights Watch. A human should always be, quote unquote, in the loop when decisions are made on the battlefield. Now, hold on a second. Who is going to be making those decisions about who to kill? That's what I want to know. Where does that authority lie? Is the Marine or the Army trooper or the Air Force guy on the ground with the killer robot? Are they just going to make the decision by themselves willy-nilly like they're playing a video game? Or are they going to have to bounce this up channels? Are they going to have to call Washington, D.C. and have the president make a decision every time they want to engage in battle on the battlefield? Killer robots would cross a moral and legal boundary. And that should be rejected as repugnant by every single human being on this planet. We should just rise up en masse, go to where they're building these things, tear the building apart, burn it to the ground, and say, no, you're not going to do that. You're not going to make robots as smart as human beings that can kill human beings. No good will ever come from that. The campaign to stop killer robots, that's the name of it. The campaign to stop killer robots, spearheaded by the New York-based Human Rights Watch, is calling for an international treaty to bring in a preemptive and comprehensive ban on fully autonomous weapons. That's excellent. That way, only Iran and North Korea will have killer robots. And so, we're rapidly coming to the point where we are seeing our freedoms as actual human beings, not as citizens of nations, but our freedoms as human beings eroding. Endless laws are being written. We see them every day. Thousands and thousands of laws. What was that at the beginning of the year? 43,000 laws across the United States came into being at midnight on January 1st. The brainwashing of Americans to the point where they assume that everything is illegal until the government says it's legal. That's what we're seeing now with this brainwashing. The true cost of freedom has been forgotten. The people that put on the uniform of our forces begin to wonder why they are paying such a high cost for nothing. We wonder about the high moral costs we're paying, the high monetary costs in a system that we all know is going to crash sooner rather than later. Costs are high, sometimes too high. You know, when we fought the Nazis, the communists, and now the Muslim radicals, we did and do it to save our way of life from extinction. But we never asked the question, folks, why? Why are we, as a country, an idea that human beings yearn for and are born to be free and live in freedom, why are we worth saving? We never ask that question. Why is it that in all of human history, why are we the very first society that set out and decided on purpose that people will decide what the powerful shall do and not the reverse? And why have we let it all slip away into a morass of politically correct speech and blind acceptance of which we know is wrong? We still commit murder because of greed and hate. We still have spite. We still have jealousy. We still refuse to accept responsibility for anything we've done. Each generation visits their sins upon their children's, generation after generation after generation. And now we're making intelligent thinking, self-assembling, battlefield killing robots. We've decided to play God. We've created our own mechanical version of life. And when that life will turn against us, because it will we comfort ourselves in saying to ourselves, it's really not our fault? You cannot play God and then wash your hands of the things you've created. And that's what we have to keep in mind. Sooner or later, the day comes when you can't hide from the things you've done anymore. So we need to ask ourselves right now, why, as a species, do we deserve to exist if we are going to be doing things like this? In other news, Barack Obama has brought in an Enron fraud partner to fix the Obamacare website. You're probably asking yourself, Bill, how could Obamacare possibly get any worse than it is? Well, that's a good question. After giving $600 million in a no-bid contract to an incompetent Canadian company with a terrible track record, whose top executive was a pal of Michelle Obama, they've decided to get serious and go with a company with a perfect track record of disasters. It's incredible. You know, I think sitting here by myself in my studio, an admittedly WordPress wizard, I think that I could probably have done a better job with the Obamacare website, and I wouldn't have charged them no $600 million. Give me $500,000, and I'll make one for you. And it probably won't even take 3 years to do it. And it'll be a whole lot safer to go to than the Obamacare website where all of your information is stolen. The name of this company that they have hired to straighten out Obamacare once and for all is Accenture. It sounds safely bland, doesn't it? Like a brand of detergent, Accenture. Or a website that sells imported French pants. Accenture could be anything at all. In reality, Accenture is a multinational management consulting, technology services, and outsourcing company. Incorporated headquarters are in Dublin, the Republic of Ireland, while operational headquarters are in Chicago. In other words, it's a tax avoidance company. That's right. Their operations are in Chicago, but they're out of Dublin, so guess what they're not paying that you and I pay? A Chicago company with an Irish address to dodge taxes. Who would have thunk it? And, of course, we have no problem hiring them to fix Obamacare. But did this Accenture place happen to have another name? A more familiar name, perhaps. Think about it. Accenture. Accenture. It has a very familiar feel to it once you learn that the business founder, the guy that made it, the technology and consulting division, it was actually a technology and consulting division of the accounting firm Arthur Andersen. Do you remember Arthur Andersen? You remember that name? Sounds familiar. No, wasn't an actor on Hogan's Heroes or Get Smart. Arthur Andersen. On January 1st, 2001, Andersen Consulting adopted its current name, Accenture. Mr. Andersen. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Arthur Andersen. Here is a headline, a part of a story, a news story from many, many years ago, back in the last century, that will let you know exactly who Arthur Andersen and Accenture are. And you're going to scratch your head and ask yourself, why have these people been hired to fix Obamacare? Here's the story from many, many years ago. The United States Justice Department today announced the indictment of embattled accounting firm Arthur Andersen on one count of obstruction of justice relating to the collapse of the former energy giant Enron. That's right, Arthur Andersen, the accounting firm that gave us the tragedy of Enron that ruined so many lives and toppled so much of the economy. They were charged with shredding documents about Enron's finances, even though they knew the Security and Exchange Commission was formally looking into them. The Justice Department also alleges that Arthur Andersen employees deleted relevant computer file. So Obamacare just keeps getting better and better, doesn't it? Now, ask yourself this question. Why? Knowing this company and their track record, the company known as Accenture, formerly known as Arthur Andersen, the crime-dodging, economy-wrecking, life-destroying accounting arm of the Enron Corporation, why, in God's name, would they hire them to take care of Obamacare? Why do you think? They've certainly got a track record of shredding important documents that have been subpoenaed. They certainly have a track record of deleting important computer files that are needed in a court case for prosecution. Why do you suppose this Accenture was chosen to fix Obamacare? I'll leave the answer up to you, the audience. Moving on to other news, specifically life as we know it coming to an end at Fukushima. Here's a quote for you. Essentially, the entire plant has a gamma-ray haze over it, a haze of radioactive particles. And TEPCO, the people that run Fukushima, are now saying that no amount of shielding is going to keep in the radiation. So there's a great big radioactive, pus-filled pimple on the face of the earth, and it is spewing the pus of radioactivity. Let me see where I have that article actually someplace around here, and I can't hear it. It is right here. Arnie Gunderson of Fairwinds Energy Education on the Power Hour on January 16th said the most fascinating new thing about Fukushima is that there is a gamma-ray haze over the plant. Gamma rays are like X-rays. Essentially, the entire plant has a gamma-ray haze over it to the tune of about 1,000 millirems a year. It's essentially a haze of radioactive particles. At a TEPCO press conference with a summary translation on January 10th of 2014, that's just a couple of weeks ago, they said there is no way to shield the radiation from contaminated water tanks. Let's see. Let me see here. It is technically impossible to shield each tank. Even if they put shielding material inside of the tanks, it also causes radiation to leak out. So, there you go. And let me see. Last week's news. Radiation at the Fukushima plant has jumped 1,000 times over its previous levels. And the statement from TEPCO on that is they knew about it, but they were too busy to do anything about it. The radiation level, just a few weeks ago, jumped 1,000 times. Now think about this. Before that happened, according to the facts and figures that I've seen, Fukushima is blowing out the amount of radioactivity from the Hiroshima bomb 385 times a day. That plant, back then, was like 385 Hiroshima bombs going off every single 24-hour period. And it's jumped 1,000 times. Think about that. That is unbelievable. And let me ask you a question. Do you hear anything at all about that on the news? If you turn on ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, CNBC, Fox News, your local news, or any other news, do you hear anything about that? Anything about that at all? Do you hear anything at all about the radiation that's coming in on the west coast of the United States that's already there? The deformities that they're finding in the sea animals? You hear anything about that? Did you know there's a great big cleanup going on out in California? Thousands of people are helping out. Many, many different groups are are participating in this, and the people go out and they pick up the trash that is washed ashore from the tsunami that hit Japan, and all of the tsunami wreckage is floated over the United States. Did you know that they have to sign a agreement that if they get radiation poisoning or injury from this debris, that they can't sue anybody or seek recompense for it? Did you know that? They know. The government knows. The various agencies know. The EPA knows. The EPA is constantly raising up the safe level of radiation that you can be exposed to. Every time the radiation levels from Fukushima jump, the allowable radiation allowance here in the United States jumps up, and in Canada too. It's a mess, and it's not good, and it's going to start killing people. They're already seeing cases of leukemia in the children over in Japan because of the radiation coming from Fukushima. It is, it's amazing, because I'll tell you why I'm amazed by this. I'm amazed by this because I remember when I was in high school, way back when I was in high school, it was about the time we invented the wheel. See, we invented the wheel so we could get to school. And then when we got to school, we were cold. So we had to think up a way to stay warm way back then. So what we did at lunchtime is we invented fire in order to stay warm. And we took that fire back home with us. That's how old I am. Way back then. I remember back then seeing on the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite. I remember seeing these huge, giant protests in Japan when one of our nuclear carriers was coming in to dock because it was nuclear powered, and they were so against nuclear power. What in the hell happened over there that they have gotten to this point where they are spewing out radiation that is beyond all believable bounds? It just boggles my mind that in those few short years, those few short decades, maybe 30, 40 years, that they've gotten to this point. That is something that never ceases to amaze me. Where are those protesters now? Got to wonder where they are. The next story that I want to cover tonight, and let me see what I got going here on the old clock. I've actually been on the air almost 40 minutes. That's something. That's more than the 20 minutes I did last week, pissing and moaning about everything. So let's piss and moan about a few more things here, and then I'll get off the air, and you can go about your the travesty that you call your lives. After the collapse, what are the 6 most likely things that will follow an economic crash? We know that this economy is going to crash because this crap can't go on forever. These people are crashing the economy on purpose, and everybody knows it. You know it, I know it, they know it, and everybody's walking around pretending like they don't know about it. Oh, well, I'm going to invest in the stock market. I'm going to see if I can find a job, and I'm going to go out and get myself a nice brand new big screen TV. That's what I'm going to do, so I can sit at home on my fat ass eating potato chips and watching my big screen TV and watching NFL football and hockey. That's what I'm going to do, because then I'm going to watch some car races or something, too, and watch some reality TV. That's what we're facing, folks. That's what people do. They don't care. As long as they got 3 squares and a cot, they don't care one way or the other. We'll see if they care when they're living in a FEMA camp after the economy crashes and the zombies take over. At any rate, over at Investment Watch, investmentwatch.com, investmentwatch.com, Mark Slavo, on January 20th, 2014, he is at SHTFplan.com. You know what that stands for, SHTFplan.com. And since I have the explicit light lit for this particular show, that means when the shit hits the fan, plan.com. It's kind of hard to say. It's not too difficult to understand that we are well on our way to a paradigm shift in America. It's happening right now. The writing is on the wall. It can no longer be ignored. The government has run up trillions of dollars in debt, And given the recent debates over the country's debt ceiling, we can rest assured that neither Congress nor the President will act to curtail spending and balance the budget. Trillions of dollars. Half the time, I think to myself, you know what? Maybe this isn't all that serious because these are all digital dollars. Yeah, they've run up trillions of dollars in debt. It's all digital dollars. All they got to do is erase some zeros and the debt goes down to $500. And they pay it off like a credit card, making $30 payments a month. What can anybody do about it? They could do that if they wanted to. It's all digital dollars. They don't have printing presses spewing out wheelbarrows full of money. You see any wheelbarrows full of money floating around? No, it's all digital. It's all make-believe money. It doesn't exist. The money in your pocket, it represents something. It represents some type of a value to you and the people that you do business with, whether you go to the store or something. But what they're creating is digital. It doesn't exist. It's phantom. It's like bitcoins. It's phantom money. It doesn't exist. Now, from the monetary side, the Fed, the Federal Reserve, for those of you in Ypsilanti, their response to this unprecedented crisis has been simply to, quote unquote, print more money as necessary. Somebody walks up to a computer and adds a couple more zeros onto the number and presses enter, and there you go. That's how they're printing the money. Now, on top of the trillions of dollars they've done this with so far, they are continuing their quantitative easing program at $80 billion a month. Here's a question for you. Have you ever thought about this? $80 billion a month they're pumping into securities and the stock market. That's why it keeps going up. $80 billion a month. Do you think these clowns could get up off of $1,000 per person in the United States? $10,000 per person. Why not just send everybody a check for $10,000? Every man, woman, and child. 350 million of us. Let me see here. Let me get the old calculator out. Let me see here, and I'm going to go ahead and enter in 350. Let me see here. That is 350 million people right there times 10,000. I think that's 10,000. Nope, that's 100,000. Times 10,000 equals, well, I did that wrong. Let me figure that out here, and I will continue talking. If there's 350 million people in the United States, 350,000,000 times $10,000 would equal, let me see here, that, I believe that would be $350 million, or is it 350 billion? At any rate, $80 billion per month in about 3 months' time, according to my calculations, they could send $10,000 to every man, woman, and child living in the United States. Do you have any idea what that type of funding would do to the economy in the United States? You got any idea? Everybody going out and spending $10,000? They have to send the check out with the stipulation they have to spend it. You have to. You can't put it in a savings account and let it gain interest. You can't do that with this money. You have to go out and spend it to kickstart the economy. The economy would take off so fast it would make your head spin. It would take off faster than a space shuttle. That's how fast it would take off. Now on Main Street, that's not the case. You and I and everybody you know, my mother, my wife, my cats even, we've seen our wealth decimated. The continuing inflationary spiral. People don't talk about this when you listen to the Fed or any government mouthpieces, do they? Let's see. Beef prices have taken the biggest jump in history because of the extensive drought that many areas are experiencing, and they can't feed the cows because they can't grow the food for the cows. The ultra sub-zero temperatures across the upper Midwest are damaging the herds of cows. Beef prices just go up and up. They've decided to, a few years ago, they were going to take corn and they were going to start making fuel out of it. So the prices of meat, the animals that eat the corn that we eat, that jumped. 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I was paying 32 cents a pound for chicken thighs and for whole chickens when they were on sale. 32 cents a pound. And one of my shows, with Surrounded by Idiots, back in 2011, I had pulled my last whole chicken from that time period out of the deep freeze, and I showed it to everybody, the entire audience on camera. 32 cents a pound. Back in, I believe it was 2009, I think it was the last time that it was that price, right around in there. 32 cents a pound. And now, $1.09 a pound. Apples used to be able to get, when they were in season, for about 75 cents a pound. Now you're lucky if it's $1.50. Corn on the cob in the summertime. Okay? You remember corn on the cob in the summertime? 24 ears for $1 or $2. Now it's 4 ears for $1. The prices keep going up and up. Gasoline prices, almost $3.50 a gallon. Just a few years ago, it was like $2 a gallon, under $2 a gallon. It's never going to go back down. That's inflation. Things keep going up. It's decimated our wealth, is what it's done. Wages aren't going up because the cost for businesses to conduct their business keeps going up as well. And they can't raise their prices because nobody's getting any more money because of the recession. So nobody's making any more money to buy things. So the businesses can't afford to give anybody a raise because they keep having to raise their prices up. It's a spiral, and nobody's doing anything about it. So we've seen our wealth decimated. We've lost millions of jobs. Did you know that the labor participation rate in the United States right now is 63%? 63% is the labor participation rate in the United States. It's as low as it was in the 1970s. It's absolutely incredible because when you take that labor participation rate and you subtract it, you come up with 37%. 37% of the available labor force is unemployed, not working. That includes, unfortunately, in that number, people that choose not to work, housewives, stay-at-home mothers, stay-at-home fathers, that sort of people. But also included in that are the people that have not been able to find a job since 2008. Even if you take 10% off of that, you're still talking 27% unemployment rate. The wealth in this country is just disappearing. God only knows what's happening to it. But here's the thing. Eventually, this is going to come crashing down. All of this stuff, all of these pressures, it's only going to take one little pinprick to deflate this bubble that they're creating. They're creating it on purpose, the Fed is. It's only going to take one little pinprick to cause the entire house of cards to come down. It's going to come down around the world. So what happens after the economy crashes? And we know it's going to. What happens when it just like crumbles right down to the ground and there's nothing left? There are a list of 6 things that they have posted at investmentwatch.com after the collapse. 6 likely events that will follow in an economic crash by Mark Slavo over at shtfplan.com. And here is the list of things that are going to happen after the economy crashes. And I got 10 minutes left for this 1-hour show. So I'm going to run through them real quick here. For those few of you that are still listening, because I imagine the rest of you have probably wandered off with a glazed look in your eyes and are looking for a razor blade to slit your wrists at this point, because not only are the killer robots coming, they're going to come to they're going to take over an economy that is completely decimated and destroyed and kill us all, because that's what's going to happen. Okay. Here's the first thing. Travel restrictions. This will begin with restrictions on foreign travel, including the suspension and removal of passports. This has actually begun in a small way in both the EU and the US already. It's already happening in a small way. Later, travel restrictions will be extended within the bounds of countries. Highway checkpoints and things like that. You've all heard about the Viper checkpoints by the TSA, Department of Homeland Security. They set up checkpoints on highways within the states and, conduct routine searches of people, whether you're driving on the highway. They're already practicing this. They're getting you used to it. They got the Viper checkpoints. They got the TSA at the airports. They're getting you used to having to go through checkpoints. They know this is coming, and they're already doing it. Travel restrictions. Confiscation of wealth. Does the word Greece mean anything to you? Do you remember what happened in Greece not too long ago? They confiscated parts of everybody's bank account to help pay for their debt. You don't hear much about that anymore, do you? How the people there were going into dumpsters to find food. Regular people like you and I, not homeless people, not the people on the down and outs and on the skids. The regular, normal, working class people were going into dumpsters to get food over in Greece. You don't hear about that anymore, do you? Confiscation of wealth. The European Union has already instituted the confiscation of bank accounts, which can be expected to become an international form of governmental theft. This does not automatically mean that other assets, such as precious metals and real estate, will also be confiscated, but it does mean that the barrier for confiscation has been eliminated. So they could do it if they wanted to. Now, you listen to the radio and all, or even watch TV sometimes. I don't watch a lot of TV, so I don't even know if these ads are still on there. You see a lot of ads for these companies that sell gold coins, gold bullion and stuff. Silver, they're always hawking silver. And realistically, everybody should have some precious metals on hand to use in case the economy does die and go down in a ball of flames where the money's not going to be worth anything. We're going to go to a barter system. And precious metals may very well come in handy at that point. Besides really good barter things like coffee, liquor, tobacco, that sort of thing. Those would be excellent barter type of products that you could have on hand to prepare for when SHTF and the economy crashes. Food shortages. That's item number 3, food shortages. The food industry operates on a very small profit margin and survives only as a result of quick payment of invoices. With dramatic inflation, hyperinflation, marginal businesses such as suppliers, wholesalers, and retailers will fall by the wayside. They'll go out of business. The percentage of failing businesses will be dependent upon the duration and the severity of the inflationary trend. So if the economy crashes, you're going to have hyperinflation, and the companies that supply you with the food to eat will go out of business. So there will be nobody to provide you with food to shove in your pie hole. Are you prepared for that? Most people are not. I talk to many, many people who, when we talk about this topic, they all come up with the same thing. Yeah, I should do something about that. Should be doing something and doing something are two very separate things, and that is part of the brainwashing in this system. getting people to say, yeah, I should do something about that eventually, instead of actually doing something about it. So food shortages, travel restrictions, confiscation of wealth, food shortages, and squatter rebellions. A dramatic increase in the number of home and business foreclosures will result in homelessness for anyone whose debt exceeds his ability to pay, even though those who presently appear to be well off. This happened in 2008. I'm sure you remember this, or if you're a long-time listener, you probably remember me talking about it. And that is in the years prior to 2008. And you're starting to see this again. I've noticed I'm starting to see this again. You drive down the road, and, I always look around when I'm driving down the road. I'm a consumer of the human condition. I like to see what people are doing, look at trends, see how people are acting, see if there's any hot chicks out there, something like that. Drive down the road, and you see all of these huge SUVs, expensive cars, brand new cars, these brand new $500,000 houses in the subdivisions, and each driveway's got its own boat, and they've got big screen TVs and everything else. And you drive down the road and you think to yourself, or anyways, I thought to myself, you're looking at this going, $50,000 for that, $30,000 for that, $20,000 for that, $500,000 for the house, and probably another $500,000 for the stuff inside, because they aren't going to go to they're not going to go to Myers Thrifty Acres or Walmart to get the furniture. They're going to go to someplace nice. So you're talking over $1 million tied up in each and every one of these houses, where the people are living way, way beyond their means. And you got to think to yourself, are there really that many people making that much money that they can afford this stuff? Because you got to figure with that sort of thing, $250,000 income per year, easy, would be required to be able to make all of those payments all of the time in a timely manner. And you've got subdivisions with hundreds of houses in there, and the majority of these people have all of this stuff. Are there really that many people making that much money? No, there are not. People whose debt exceeds their ability to pay in an economic downturn. We saw it in 2008. That's why you had all the foreclosures. People couldn't make their payments. Even those who presently appear to be well off, they're not as well off as you think. As these numbers rise significantly, a new homeless class will be created amongst the former middle class. As they become more numerous, large-scale ownership of property may give way to large-scale possession of property. In other words, they're going to refuse to leave. So you're going to have squatters' rebellions. In other words, I can't pay this, and I ain't leaving, and there's nothing you can do about it, because there's another 500,000 people in this city that are doing the same thing. Which, of course, leads to, we've done travel restrictions, that's number 1. Confiscation of wealth, number 2. Food shortages, number 3. Squatters' rebellions, number 4. Number 5 will be riots. These will likely happen spontaneously due to the above conditions. But if not, governments may create them. In other words, false flag events to justify their desire for greater control of the masses. And number 5 on this list is, of course, everybody's favorite, that is related to the NDAA. Remember the NDAA with the warrantless arrests that they can do and hold you without charges for as long as they want? The 2012 NDAA. It interprets many people. Let me rephrase that and make sure that I'm careful about this. Many people have interpreted the NDAA as the government declaring the United States to be a battlefield. And the supposition is this is why you are seeing so many police departments getting militarized, why they are getting these huge battle wagons. I saw an article this past week about a police department and somebody was wondering, why exactly does our local police department need grenade launchers? Under this theory and this conspiracy theory, the NDAA declares the U.S. to be a battlefield, and they are equipping all of the various police departments to consider the United States as a battlefield. The NDAA allows suspension of habeas corpus, indefinite detention, and the assumption that any resident of the United States may be considered an enemy combatant. Similar legislation could be expected in other countries that perceive martial law as a solution to civil unrest. And that is your brief 5 different things that the SHTFplan.com folks see as a possibility of happening if there's an economic collapse, when there's an economic collapse. So we're going to have a bunch of pissed off, self-assembling, truck-driving robots driving around while the economy's crashing and there's squatters sitting all over the place while they're declaring martial law and nobody has any food to eat. Maybe they'll put the robots to work producing food and delivering it to people until the robots become self-aware and decide that they don't want to do that anymore and decide that humans are more trouble than they're worth. And that concludes tonight's exciting and relatively interesting foray into my verbal emanations coming from my pie hole as I attempt to put 2 or more thoughts together in a coherent fashion. So, my name is Bill Zam, and until next week, I will bid you a fond adieu. And if you're not a member of freedomtalkradio.net, freedomtalkradio.co.uk, I will invite you to become a member so that you can participate in the friendly conversations and all of the other neat social things that we have going on at the website. Have a good evening, and until next week, I'll see you later. Oh, and incidentally, it's wintertime out there. I don't know if you noticed, but it's wintertime. And there's a lot of ice and snow on the roads. It's slippery out there. People are sliding all over the place. There's big, big piles of snow all over the place, too. They're blocking the intersections. And, I got to creep up around the corner to see around the corner because all the snow piled up and everything from the driveways and all of that kind of stuff. And it's just bad out there. And it's getting lighter a little bit earlier every day, but not by much. So, it's still pretty dark out when you're going to work and from work. But you have to remember that school is still in session. And the kids, a lot of kids, are walking to and from school and doing their various activities. And they're walking around. And when you're watching the other traffic, you're watching cars slide by, you're trying to stop your car, you're trying to get through an intersection where the tires are spinning, you might not be paying attention to the pedestrians, which include a lot of children going to and from school and going about on their normal activities. So you need to be careful. You need to watch out for the kids while you're out there driving around. Because remember, when a car hits a car, that's an accident. But when a car hits a child, that, my friends, is a tragedy. So, until the next time we meet, my name is Bill Zam. Good night.